everybody, welcome back to AEW Unrestricted, the official podcast of AEW. A little bit different format here for those watching on video. We're all sort of stay at home, but the show must go on, so happy to keep bringing you guys the podcast. Today, we have a wonderful guest, one that I've been particularly, really excited to get here. We've got Dr. Britt Baker DMD.
What's
you
up?
paid big money for those letters, so I'm going to make sure I say them. But Britt Baker was the first person, the first female signed to All Elite Wrestling. She is a wonderful member of our women's roster. Fantastic heel, if I might say so myself. You had a great run on the indies. And then on top of that, in case you didn't know, she's a dentist.
And I didn't even pay you to say all that. Wow.
No.
I'm so honored, Ref Aubrey.
We're good friends. We're good friends. I like to think so, at least.
Yes, absolutely. We go way back, me and Aubrey,
Way
from that unfortunate incident in Jacksonville.
Ooh, boy.
I mean, let's dive right into it, because that's really where we've met each other before. We were at different indie events,
Right. I think we worked one show on the indies together, and then I actually reffed your dark match in the Mae Young Classic.
Yes.
And then the first time we worked together at AEW was Fight for the Fallen in the tag match, where you famously got the concussion.
Like, one of the worst experiences that ever happened to me in professional wrestling to date was when I got my concussion early on in the match, within a minute or two.
It was definitely within the first 2 minutes.
Right. And Aubrey literally kept the puzzle pieces together as best as she possibly could. And I will never, ever, ever, ever forget that all night, because you can't go to sleep when you have a concussion, or if you do, you have to be checked on. Aubrey had I don't even know what floor she was on, but our hotel rooms were on different floors. Every hour she would come to my hotel room, check on me, make sure I was okay, text the doc, hey, Britt's okay, go back to her room every hour. So that just speaks of her character. And ever since then, I just feel like I'm forever indebted to Aubrey, because she's incredible human.
Oh, I didn't even.
That is a great story. What is it about you guys from the independent circuit that makes you all so cool and so caring? You know, listen, I say that because I never worked the independent circuits. You know, I worked WCW where everybody hated everybody, kind of. But now we got all these great people that have wrestled on the independent circuit or have refereed on the independent circuit, and you're all just cool people. What is it? Somebody explain that to me.
I think that we all share the common, it's a genuine, true love and passion for professional wrestling, because some of the indie scenes are not, it's not glamorous, to put it lightly. And you work for every penny and dollar you make. And when you start out, you don't make anything. You go in the hole with all your traveling. And for myself included, if anyone ever questions my love of professional wrestling, I should have been diagnosed with insanity years ago if I didn't, because I was enrolled in an academic curriculum which all but promises success as a dentist. So why would I pursue professional wrestling as an independent, where you are by no means promised, fame, fortune, or that you'll wrestle be nothing.
Nobody owes you shit.
Right. Wrestling doesn't owe you anything. So I think, and it's really all us independent nerds coming together. We just love sharing all our stories and remember when, and you connect the dots. It's all one big family. It's such a small world too, which is all. It's just fun. It's all in the love and support of professional wrestling.
So when did you get the bug? When did you know, obviously you have to study to be a dentist and you have to put a lot of time and effort into it. Mm-hmm. But when did you know, or when did you get the bug that you wanted to be a wrestler?
So I was a wrestling fan, and I had no idea what independent wrestling was. Never heard of it. I was like, what, like indie music? What is it? What are you talking about? So when I was finishing school at Penn State University, and I was set to move to Pittsburgh to start dental school, and some of my friends had said, oh, like Pittsburgh has a big independent wrestling scene. You should check it out. Meaning like I should go to the shows, not I should try out to be a wrestler.
Right.
But I did my research, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. Maybe I'll just try it. So I sent an email, hey, I would like to try out. Obviously, assuming nothing would come from it, I was just like, ooh, I could like get in a wrestling ring. Just kind of like typical like fangirl stuff. So and Penn State and Pittsburgh are not close. It's 2.5 hours one way.
Right.
So got in the car, drove. The guy, you did your bumps, your rolls that everybody is absolutely terrible at the first time. It's embarrassing. And then they're like, yeah, you start next month. Well, I wasn't moving to Pittsburgh for another 3 months. So I had to make the drive from Pittsburgh to State College for 3 months. On top of that, when you start out, everyone does ring crew. You go to all the shows. So, I mean, I would be getting home at like 7 a.m. sometimes, but I loved it. It was I never once was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this. This is terrible. This is, BS. I truly loved every moment of it. And when I got into dental school, that's when it really got tough. And as far as like with my peers, now it's cool. Everyone's like, oh yeah, Dr. Britt Baker, I know her, I went to school with her. But when I was in school, I was not, I was like the outcast, because dental school is, academic aces from around the world.
Right.
The dental school I went to specifically, I think it was 3.7% acceptance rate. So it's cream of the crop. And for people to be like, what, you're doing wrestling? Why aren't you studying? Why aren't you in the library? I was just a weirdo. I was not the cool kid whatsoever. So it was kind of lonely at sometimes, because it's not like I was going to all these dental outings or socials, because I had no time. I had to get to the gym because I had to be in shape. I had to look the part. I had to watch wrestling. And if I missed Raw the night before, I was sitting in the back of the classroom watching it on my computer as the professor had the PowerPoint on the screen.
Bad student.
I definitely got caught more. When you open your laptop and you're praying the sound isn't on, but the sound is on and everybody in the room.
Oh yeah.
Can't even tell you how many times that's happened to me. But so that was kind of how everything got started. It was really, I will say I fell into a lot of good luck with wrestling some awesome opponents. I got to train with Candice LeRae and Johnny Gargano. I got to wrestle Candice LeRae early on, and just the opportunities I had early on really helped me to where I am today.
This is a silly question, but
no such thing.
How many times or how often do your colleagues come to you for dental advice backstage?
Oh my gosh, more often than you would think. And they're always embarrassed. Like, hey, I hate to bother you with this, but that's my job. I went to school.
Right.
I've been in school since I was a kid until a year ago. This is like my first full year not being in any type of school. So it's really weird for me, but it's my passion. Why would you not ask me something like that? And even people that like live in Orlando are like embarrassed to come to I see a lot of wrestlers, but then there's also wrestlers that are like, oh no, I can't have her look at my mouth. But why would you trust anyone else? I'm going to shoot straight with you. I'm not work you. I'm not going to. So, but I get it. Some people don't like the dentist.
Yeah, they don't like the dentist. Also, it's your profession; you get paid for it, so they're kind of thinking that they're looking for free advice, and so I get that,
No, I charge every time backstage. There's a copay.
She has. I asked her about like preferred toothbrush on the road, and she held out her hand, and I had to pay her money first.
Took her insurance, everything.
Yeah, got the little square plugged in your phone. You can zip a credit card.
Swipe. Yep.
Right. Swipe and go. So, which was harder, dental school or wrestling school?
Dental school and wrestling school together.
Together.
They're so different. I mean, dental school, the grueling coursework you have to do. You don't sleep as it is. And then when you have wrestling school, you have to go to twice a week for 3 hours, 4 hours. It was total insanity, but I would do it again because I get to do both things now. Thank God for AEW, because I can be a dentist and a wrestler. So hindsight, like everything paid off and then some, and it's going to continue to pay off for years and years to come because I get to do both of my true loves. So
talk about that a little bit, because your schedule is probably one of the craziest, given that you do both the dental stuff full time and you're basically at the venue every Wednesday. Almost right. Like you're either doing commentary or doing wrestling, or you're there pretty frequently. So what does your schedule on a weekly basis look like?
Yeah, and that was something I had worked out in my agreement early on, that I wanted to be able to still practice dentistry in some capacity, because that's my forever career. And that's something that I went to school for 8 years for. I have student loans debt that I will probably die with. So I wanted to make sure that if I'm going to be a dentist, I get to do it the right way. And Tony was like, absolutely no problem. So basically I work in the office Monday, Tuesday, get the latest flight possible to wherever city we're going to, fly out Tuesday night. Wednesday we have our tapings, and then if I'm lucky, Wednesday night I get to go to the hotel room and nap a little bit, sometimes not. Catch the first flight either red-eye Wednesday night or Thursday morning. And I mean, I have my scrubs on as I'm flying and everything. As soon as I get off the plane, I go straight to the dental office, work all day Thursday and then Friday.
That's insane.
Yep, and it is, but I mean, I get to do it. There's people that don't get to do both things that they love. So how can I complain and say, oh my gosh, I'm exhausted? No, I'm literally getting to do both of my dreams. So that would be pretty selfish.
You know, it's insane, but it's admirable too. It really is, because a lot of us on Monday and Tuesday, I'm not speaking for Aubrey, but a lot of us just hang out in front of PlayStation 4 and you go to work. So there you go.
You do, Mr. Arkham City.
Oh, thank you very much. I certainly do.
No, I'm very, very thankful. I will forever be thankful for AEW, because in any other company, WWE, NXT, this wouldn't be possible. I wouldn't be able to do both. You are living at the Performance Center. You have to travel nonstop through the week, and it just wouldn't be possible. But this is I'm literally living the dream.
Sure. I get that. I really do. Now, you're from Puxatawny, Pennsylvania, right? I mean, everybody knows Puxatawny, Pennsylvania, because of Puxatawny Phil.
That's
met him? Have you met him?
I have. We in high school, elementary school, middle school, high school, it's a holiday. You get off school, you go to it's called Gobbler's Knob, and you sit in the woods and wait for this groundhog to come out. And it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of, but it's what we do. It's Puxatawny, Pennsylvania.
Well, the movie Groundhog Day portrayed it as a really quaint, nice town. Was that really shot at Puxatawny? Those exteriors?
No. I believe it was filmed in Chicago.
Oh my gosh,
that makes sense.
Yeah, right? and how they portrayed Groundhog Day is very inaccurate. The town itself is very small and quaint, but Groundhog Day is like a big rager in the woods. Like everyone's partying and waiting for the groundhog and dancing. So that they got that part wrong.
Oh boy.
So I was going to ask what your hometown's like the first week of February, but I guess you answered it. Just everybody is
big old party.
When did you know a young lady from Puxatawny, Pennsylvania? When did you know, hey, I want to be a dentist? When did that first hit you? Now, we talked about being a wrestler.
Oh, this is a good story. This is a good story. So I went to Penn State University, huge partying school, and I was very active in the partying early on. Really? Oh, yeah. So, I mean, I'm from a small town, so that's my first time out of the house. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm a football fanatic, and Penn State football is a cult, and it's a religion if you go there. And if you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. So Nittany Lions, we bleed blue. So my first 2 years, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was really good in school. I always got A's. I loved science, and I liked healthcare. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And eventually my dad got on my ass and was like, look, you're wasting money right now. You need to figure out what you want to do this summer. This was my second year of school, this summer. Or you need to go to a different school that's cheaper because you're just wasting money. And I was like, okay. So I spent that whole summer job shadowing everything imaginable in the healthcare field, from nursing to different physicians, doctors, and the financial department, like everything you could think of. And I didn't like any of it. So it wasn't until I went to my own personal general dentist and shadowed him for a day when I was like, oh my gosh, this is really cool, because it's so interesting when you first get your eyes on like a dental appointment from start to finish. And there's science that goes behind it. It's artwork. It's just really cool, and you get to have your own creative twist onto it too. And that's when I was that really got the wheels turning. So then I shadowed more and more and more. And I went to my financial advisor and I said, hey, I really want to be a dentist. This is what I want to do. I got it. She pulled up my grades. She says, no, you're never going to get into dental school. You got to pick something else. So I was like, that was it. Like, I was like, okay.
Bitch, please.
Like now it's on. So my GPA at the time was like 2.8, was not good. Would have never gotten into dental school. I did absolutely nothing but study, get my grades up, and watch wrestling for the next 2 years, brought it up to like a 3.8.
Damn.
And I then emailed her every single acceptance letter into dental school that I had, because I was just like a big, giving it to her. Right.
So you are a natural heel.
I am a natural heel. Well, she pissed me off. Your advisor's supposed to be encouraging, not telling you, hey, you're never going to be a dentist. I was like, okay, that's it.
Maybe she was just encouraging you the right way. You didn't know.
I probably owe her a lot of she's really lit the fire though. So I owe her more than I should, have negative feelings towards her.
We're talking with Britt Baker on AEW Unrestricted. And next we're going to talk about AEW and her coming into our company. Talking with Britt Baker here on AEW Unrestricted. Britt, the first female wrestler signed to AEW. Who contacted you What was your initial reaction to joining the roster?
Okay, so I was working a lot of shows at the time at Ring of Honor with the Bucks, Cody, Brandi, and it was kind of like chitter chatter about something's coming up. Everyone heard of that this wrestling company might be in the works, but nobody knew what was going on. So I had talked to Brandi and Cody, and they were kind of like, do you have a deal anywhere? Are you signing anywhere? And I was like, no, I signed a year contract with my dental office. And I said, okay, well don't sign anything, but that's it. Just don't sign a deal or contract anywhere. Okay. So then I remember I was Christmas shopping. I was buying Christmas decorations. And Brandi starts contacting me, telling me, hey, we want to offer you a deal for All Elite Wrestling. Just goes on into every nitty gritty detail, all within one conversation. It was like, oh my gosh, overload. Because I went from working in the dental office to working in the independents to here's this giant wrestling contract. Oh, and by the way, you get to still work as a dentist and wrestle for national television. So for me, I was like, I had to wait the next day to see, like, was that real or am I dreaming that?
Yeah, because it's kind of a dream come true, like that offer.
It really is a dream come true. Yeah, so I worked pretty closely with Brandi and Cody to get the contract finalized, and then it was basically from that point just keep your lips shut and wait until everything's officially announced. And then we had the press conference in Jacksonville.
That was quite an exciting moment, wasn't it? The press conference in Jacksonville.
Oh my gosh, that walking across that stage and saying that I'm signed to All Elite Wrestling and walking across the stage when I got my dental school diploma were the two best days of my life. It's just such a sense of accomplishment. Like it's almost like a big exhale. Like, oh, I did it.
That's awesome.
Talk about your first match in AEW, defeating Nyla Rose, Awesome Kong, and Kylie Ray in that fatal 4-way.
Oh man, the emotion, that was a crazy day because my first exposure with this specific audience's crowd was All In. And when I went into All In, I was like, no one knew who I was. I hadn't wrestled on TV, and all the other girls had in that match. So people were kind of like, who's this girl? So, but coming into this was Double or Nothing. It was the exact opposite. I was the girl that they all knew from All In. So I felt so much pressure, a different kind of pressure to impress and really live up to the hype. But oh my gosh, that was just the fans that night. All they wanted to do was cheer and show their appreciation for us. It didn't matter what we did or how it went. They were absolutely electric, amazing. I will never forget that night.
Right.
It was life-changing. Like that show just felt so crazy.
It was it really made everything real finally, because it was we were talking about it and keeping secrets for so long, and then like when we're finally out there and like the set, the fans, the lights, the everything, it was just, you really had to take a deep breath and realize, wow, this is real. We're doing it.
Do you realize, and this is not only for you, Britt, but for you, Aubrey, do you realize that because you were on the first show and because you were so well received, I don't know, we have no idea where this adventure is going to take us. AEW, it can take us anywhere, but you were at the beginning, you were at the start of it, and that's something that they can't take away from you. I mean, that has to be really, I feel great about that, and you should feel great about that too.
It's awesome.
I do, because anytime you get to write the history books, I mean, that it's permanent. They're not going to go back and erase that. It doesn't matter what happens from that point on. You were a part of the first of the first, and that's some, like, money can't buy that. That's forever. Yeah, and I think Aubrey, you can agree.
Yeah, it was funny because Britt was at the press conference, which I think was like January 7th or so.
January, yeah.
Yeah, and then I got my offer for Double or Nothing about 2 weeks later, but it wasn't public until probably like middle of May when they announced the rest of the ref team. So I had this thing that I just couldn't talk about. And then Britt and I were both on Shimmer in April, and I literally come up to him like, hey, so I signed this thing and I have so many questions and I need to talk to you. So let's go. And we like walk down to 7-Eleven and I'm like picking her brain like, okay, what about this? What about this? What about this?
Yeah, wow. It's crazy.
It was so wild.
You don't realize, like, when you get your first real contract that's like 13 pages and you're like, I don't know. Massive. I don't know. It's very overwhelming. It's really exciting. You're like, oh my gosh, I have a contract. But then you're like, okay, I need help because I've never done this before. But so we all were talking and had so many questions. We were helping each other. So we were bonding early on.
Yeah.
We talked earlier about your concussion, and we talked about how Aubrey helped you out with the concussion. And were you a little gun shy to get back in the ring after that concussion?
For months. That really, really spooked me, because it wasn't just that night and then it was over. Like that, the effects of it lasted for over a week. What's really scared me is I lost all peripheral vision out of my left eye, and that was instant. I was telling Aubrey the whole time in the ring, I can't see.
That was literally the first thing you told me was, I can't see out of my left eye, and immediately I'm like, whoop, that's a concussion. So now we're gonna have to manage this.
Yeah, and she knew, and it was also mortifying. It was the worst moment of my wrestling career when I went to the wrong tag corner, and it was instant. I'm the laughing stock of the wrestling world, and I'm just like, oh my God, this is it. I'm done for. I'm never gonna recover from this. I have to quit. No, it was awful. It was so embarrassed. And just the whole match, it was probably one of my worst performances. I had no idea where I was. I had no idea where to go, what was next, who was who. And then on top of that, the whole next week, I couldn't see. And I'm texting Doc Sampson, who was phenomenal, by the way. I mean, he would answer my every text and call, no matter what hour. He was just to keep me calm. He'd be like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Tony had put me in contact also with Christopher Nowinski, who also was helping me a lot through that. But when you can't see, they can tell you every second of the day till they're blue in the face, it's going to come back, it's going to come back. But until it comes back, you're absolutely terrified. And what really shook me is when I went to my ophthalmologist appointment, neuro-ophthalmologist, eye and brain together.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right. Yeah. It was my appointment to get cleared. And I'm thinking, okay, this is good, because I could finally see again. And he right away was like, oh my gosh, you have retinal bleeding. Your retina's still bleeding. I can't clear you. We have to send you to a specialist. And that was it. I had a break. I called Doc Sampson, freaking out. Hindsight, everything ended up being fine, full recovery. I'm okay. But for me, that would have been a career ending for both careers. If I can't see, I can't drill on someone's teeth. So and then obviously you can't see, you can't run. So that really, really scared me. And for months, I was afraid. Like even in the ring, I'm hesitant. Because if you don't have a true injury the first time you do, you're shell shocked, definitely.
So talk about when we were back there for New Year's Day in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I remember that being a terrible night, but there's so much of the aftermath of the match I don't remember. Like I don't remember being in the trainer's room. It's just what comes with a concussion. I remember Aubrey coming every single hour on the hour that night, checking on me.
You were on floor 9. I was on 6.
Yeah.
And I'd actually driven you back home or back to the hotel, like in your car, and then checked you in. And I was like, I need a key. And they're like, why do you need a key? I'm like, just trust me, I need a key. Like,
just don't ask questions.
In case she falls asleep and can't open the door, like I need a key. Right. And it's like I come in and you're all curled up in your hoodie. And I just felt so bad waking you every time, because you're like, oh, I'm sleeping. And I'm like, Britt, I'm sorry. I would apologize every time I woke you up. Like, Britt, I'm so sorry, but I need to wake you up. How are you feeling? Right. And then would text like 50 people that were all asking. Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like we're such a tight knit family. Like everybody, all the EVPs were texting me, checking in on me daily. The roster, it was very reassuring that it's not just like our injuries don't go unnoticed. People, they care about you. They want to make sure you're doing okay. They want to make sure that it doesn't happen again. We have like a very strict concussion protocol now that basically like we want to prevent bad things from happening.
Right.
Granted, they're going to happen, but all what we can learn and build new protocol from that. So here we are now we're set. We got a great concussion protocol. I'm okay. Aubrey's okay. Tony's okay.
Yes.
Everyone's okay.
Yes.
It's all great.
Considering I'll never take a bump in my life.
You don't know that.
You don't know
Everything's
that.
Possible. You hang out with Britt on TV. I don't know, man.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about that. Britt Baker now goes from being the dentist and kind of the face of women's wrestling in AEW, the first one signed, and now Britt Baker is turning heel. How did you feel about that?
I'm still the face.
Okay, sorry. See, there you go.
No, so this was something when the first video package I did, which was for Double or Nothing, when Cody set up, when Cody watched it back, he says, yeah, that was great, but you're going to be a great heel one day. And this was like a huge baby face package. So I'm like, what? And then, just naturally and it was kind of heartbreaking to me as the fans kind of turned on, oh, she's a dentist, and it became a joke and it was like a mockery. And that is crushing when you literally spent blood, sweat, and tears, worked your ass off to become a dentist and a professional wrestler. And then it's just like a meme or something to joke about. That really sucked. And that's something that I was beating myself up over so much. I was like, oh my gosh, Now what? That's my thing. That's what I worked so hard to do. That's why I announced myself as Dr. Britt Baker DMD, which, by the way, is redundant. You don't need the doctor and the DMD, but I was like, it's professional wrestling. We have to do it. We have to do it big.
Sure.
So
just cram it down people's face.
Right. So that was really hard for me at first. Just the joking, oh, she's a dentist. And because for me, it's not a joke. Those were the hardest years of my life. That's one of the biggest accomplishments I will ever have. And then it was actually Kenny, who we were just training in the ring one day, and he said, how do you feel about becoming a heel? And I was, I'm sure I'm up for anything. With that being said, I have zero experience as being a heel.
Which is hilarious because you're an incredible heel.
I've been booked as a babyface my whole life. I maybe had like 2 quick indie matches where they're like, hey, just be a heel today, where I'm like, oh, God, I don't know what I'm doing. And then Tony and Cody kind of got on board with it too. Like, hey, well, yeah, we're gonna turn you heel. And I was like, oh my gosh, here we go. And I cut a promo on Riho at that Jacksonville show. And I had Twitter responses saying like, wow, she really resembles Chris Jericho from WCW, calling himself a role model. And I was like, oh my gosh, wait. So I went back and watched so much Chris Jericho role model stuff. And that is honestly everything you see me now, I'm getting ideas from Chris Jericho back then. And I went to him right away and I was like, hey, Jericho, I have this idea. What do you think? Like, I think I could he's like, oh my gosh, you have to run with that. That's perfect. You're the dentist. You're pretty. You're in shape. He goes, rub it in their faces. You're the role model. And that was it. Then I texted Tony Khan, hey, I have this idea. Since I'm going to turn heel, what if we do something like this? And that was it. It's been history from then. And Cody has been so instrumental in helping this heel turn be successful, because we're talking promo ideas late at night. He's coming to the show early to help me go over stuff. Him and Tony both. I can't say enough good things about Cody and how much he's, for no reason, just really thrown himself into helping this heel turn be a success.
Well, that's one of the things that's great about AEW, right? Is that everyone wants to help everyone be successful. Right. And it's real great. Like when Britt's out doing a promo, Cody runs up in go position, is like listening. And as soon as the crowd bites on something, he's like, yes, which is so great to watch, that it's like, we're all pushing for each other and we all want to see each other succeed. So when you see something resonate and you see something happening, it's fantastic. And you can't not be happy for everybody.
Britt, you got to be excited because, and of course, I've been standing there many times. The fans have turned on you quickly,
very quickly, and I have to say, like, having you there, it's like a comfort blanket. Like, I'm just like, okay, if this really goes off the wall and this goes downhill quickly, I'm next to Tony Schiavone. He'll get it back on track. Right. We'll be okay. So that's definitely having you there beside me. That is, for me, that's why I think that I haven't crashed and burned and why these are still being successful, because it's in my head. He's here. We're going to be okay.
Yeah. It's like the last one that you did with Big Swole and she missed her cue coming out.
Oh my God.
We just repeated the line again.
We're literally like, when she coming for almost a minute, we're waiting for her to come out. And I had said the cue like twice now. And we're just like, well, here, we're just going to awkwardly smile. These fans want to kill me now because I just insulted their whole town.
To be fair, that was not her fault. We were all listening backstage and there was no speaker set up. So we actually couldn't hear the cue word. And we're waiting for someone else in production to give us like, hey, did they say it? Did they say it? And then eventually we're like, fuck it, just send her out. Like, we'll make it work.
Yeah, I went back. I was like, where was she? And they're like, oh, we couldn't hear. And I'm like, well, you had a whole 2 minutes beforehand to figure out that you couldn't hear, to figure out how to hear, to send her out. Anyway, it's
Show day's crazy. Show day's crazy. Okay. We learned a lot.
Yeah, and you know what? I love doing stuff like that. I love doing stuff off the cuff and when things go wrong and trying to pick it up. I came so close to saying, well, Dr. Baker, I do know for sure there's a lady in the back who has taken exception to everything you've said. So let's bring out Big Swole. I came very close to it.
Yeah, let's
hope the music plays.
We should have just started doing her entrance music, her rap, like
throwing up the double by.
And then we're texting each other immediately backstage, like, oh my God, where was she? What happened?
It's live TV.
It's live TV, and it's absolutely wonderful. Okay, we have gone through now your first foray into AEW. We've gone through the turning heel, concussion, all of that. But, just recently, you and Hikaru on Dynamite.
Oh my God.
Turned in just a blockbuster performance. You really did. Now, you broke your nose. No, that was a shoot. But you just plowed right through that. And that was you got to be really excited about that match and how it all ended up on. And I know it's there. Listen, we're in a different time now. There are no fans, empty arena, so it's harder to feed off the fans when you have none. But you had to be very excited about how that all played out.
Oh my gosh. And I will tell you, so we filmed it in advance, obviously. I was nervous, like sick to my stomach for a week until we knew it was going to air, just because when we were there, it had gotten so much positive feedback and the dreadful like Twitter trolls. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so good about it now. But then as soon as it airs, people are going to tear it apart. They're going to tear me apart. This is going to be awesome. And I just wanted to live off that high of the praise that I got from the actual tapings. But then when it aired and it was such positive feedback, I was like, oh my gosh, they like it. This is great. This is great. But I just remember being so nervous. I felt that day, knowing that it was going to air, like how I feel before a match. Like I felt that sick to my stomach, nervous to watch myself. Watching yourself is so uncomfortable, but when you're watching yourself live with the rest of the world and that match. So I had got told the night before, hey, we're going to have you go like 12 to 15 with Shida. Is that cool? And I'm like, oh my God. I don't think I had wrestled since the Chicago pay-per-view, like the pre-show.
Oh, that's right.
So I was like, yeah, no problem. So I think so. Maybe I had another match, but I had not had a lot of reps in recently at all. So obviously I was very nervous. And then the nose injury was like oh my gosh, red equals green, right? It was a blessing in disguise because that's just made everything. Do I wish there were fans there? Yes, because you feel everything a little bit more when there's not, you don't hear like the roar of the audience behind you. But I will say, even just having our roster, the 8 or whatever of them in the crowd helps so much just to hear something, some sort of rumbling going on. You know, you don't want to hear your own bumps. You don't want to hear yourself getting blown up in your own breath, because then that freaks you out more. But the blood, I knew right away. I felt the crunch. I felt it. I felt right away. Felt the hot blood coming down my face, and I was like, I laid down and Paul Turner put the gloves on and got them right away. And I thought that they were going to say, hey, we're going to cut it. And I was like, don't call it. Cause I didn't want him to, cause I was like, no, I'm okay. I can get through this. This can be a moment. And the gif right now, the meme is when I look at the camera, I just remember looking out of the side of my eye, seeing that camera and the red lights on. And I was like, oh, that's the one. And I was like, I need to show this blood right now, because. And
that's the one that ended up on the t-shirt, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Ryan told me that it is the first female top seller shirt of the week in
Whoa,
history.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That is very cool.
And, very cool.
You know, Chris Jericho has been so great on commentary. And he even said the line that you went from Ace Frehley to Gene Simmons all in one match. And that kind of caught on as well. You know?
Which is the inspiration to the shirt, too, the Kiss Team shirt. Oh my gosh, I can't say enough good things about Chris Jericho. He helps me so much with some of these heel promo. Like, I'll have an idea and run it by him, and he'll tweak it this way or this, or he'll be like, remember, you're a role model. You're not just gonna go, talk shit on everyone. You're a role model too. So having him with the minor tweaks there, it's invaluable. How lucky are we that we get to work with Chris Jericho? Literally one of the greatest of all time. And then to have him on commentary, he's one of the greatest of all time at commentary too. Also, obviously, Tony, we love you too.
I understand.
You're okay.
I get it.
But it's so surreal that, I mean, times are crazy right now, but how is it that I get to wrestle one of the best matches of my career, bust my nose, have Tony and Chris Jericho on commentary, and have a top selling shirt of the week all in 1 week? It's pretty cool.
Life is good for Dr. Britt Baker. We're going to be talking about her life here in just a moment.
We're back, AEW Unrestricted with Britt Baker, DMD, Aubrey Edwards, Tony Schiavone here. We've talked a lot about your time at AEW, concussions, bloody noses, promos, all these fun things. But one of the things that often comes up outside of the ring is your relationship with another wrestler that a lot of us know, Adam Cole, who's currently at NXT. So what's that like? I mean, like being with someone who's on a competing product, literally running at the same time as us.
There's a lot of support and a lot of friendly competition as well. We're always like checking the ratings, like who won.
We always win.
Obviously, most of the
time
our
demos are better.
But he is also one of my biggest supporters and biggest fans, and biggest critics too, which is a great thing because he's arguably one of the best. So to have him sitting on my couch breaking down, promo or move or matches, I'm so lucky to have that. And I take advantage of it all the time. I know a lot of wrestling couples, they don't talk wrestling together. Some of my friends, they're like, no, we don't talk about that.
I can't imagine that.
But I'm just like, oh my God, why would I not pick his brain when he has been through he's been wrestling, I can't remember, it's like 11 or 12 years, a long time. I've been wrestling 4.5 years. And not to mention that some of those weren't like heavily wrestled years because I was in dental school too. So I have so much to learn. I know I have so much to learn. So I ask everybody everything. Why I wouldn't ask somebody who's sitting on the couch with me watching this same match I am is idiotic in my opinion. And he watches everything. Like if there's something that I do, he will find, even if I don't want him to see it, I'm like, oh my God, this is so bad. He will find it and put it on and watch it and I'll hear about it. That being said, I watch all of his stuff too. We're very lucky that Tony has no problem with me going to watch his live shows. So I, as we all know, was in the crowd at TakeOver when he won the title for the first time, which this is also annoying, but he originally was told he can't come to our shows. For All In, actually, he had a plane ticket booked, and then they told him you can't go. So he still came to be supportful, and he just watched it on his phone in the hotel room, so that way we could after party afterwards, but he wasn't allowed to go. And then recently they've changed their tune, and he was able to come to our New Year's show. And it's great for him too, because this is his family. Like the Young Bucks and Adam Cole go way back. They have been together long before Adam Cole and Britt Baker were together.
I mean, there was ROH, there was BTE. They've killed him previously. Like I know that every time I've seen Adam, I'm like, oh, hey, I thought you were dead. Like, and I'm sure everybody does it with him.
Oh my gosh. Every time I post a picture of him, that's
he's dead. What's going on?
He's dead.
I want to tell you a little inside story. I don't know if you picked it up or not, Britt, but Excalibur told me that Adam is always concerned about his weight.
Oh, yeah.
That he always thinks he looks fat, okay? So we were doing commentary about you one night, and Excalibur says, I think Dr. Baker likes you. I said, why not? I understand she has a thing for fat guys.
Oh, God.
So that was directed right at him, and I didn't know if he picked that up or not, but... I love doing stuff like that.
Oh, he did. He did. He loves it. It's an ongoing joke they had. And Excalibur, they're from the PWG family. It's all one huge giant family. And I hope there is a day in the future, in the near future, where Adam Cole can be in a ring with the Young Bucks and Kenny and Cody.
That'd be awesome.
And it'll come full circle, and we can all be one giant happy family.
I agree with that. Well, how did you and Adam meet? Tell us that story.
Ooh, this is good. So I was in Hershey, Pennsylvania for a dental conference. Wow. And me and my roommate were at the time on the app called Bumble, which is a dating app, but where the girl has to
Tony knows
swipe
what it is.
right,
Tony
but the girl has to say hello first, or the conversation never takes off. So it's like, a lot of girl power. So I saw his picture, but it didn't look like I only know the Ring of Honor Adam Cole with the hair down in the wet and the leather jacket, but it was like it said Austin because his name's Austin, and I'm like, this guy looks so familiar. Who the frick is this? And then finally, I put it together, and I was Facebook friends with him because everybody's friends on Facebook, even though they've never actually met each other. And I sent him a screenshot of that just to be like witty. I'm like, do you know this guy? And he was like, oh my gosh, that's so embarrassing. And we started talking. And then he's like, yeah, I would love to take you out on a date sometime. But for me, all I knew was Adam Cole, the wrestling character. And I was like, absolutely not. Because he's a shithead. Like, he's an arrogant, little cocky shit. And I'm like, absolutely not. So 3 months later, we started talking again. He's like, hey, I still would really like to take you out on a date. And he was in Pittsburgh for a Ring of Honor show, and I totally blew him off because I thought he was just skeezy looking for one night stand or something. I'm like, no, I will not date a wrestler. I'm not falling into that trap. I'm going to be successful on my own. But he was such a sweetheart and just kept on asking. And this is when I really knew that he was such a great guy. He told me, I really want to take you on a date when I get back from Japan, because he was going to Wrestle Kingdom. He had wrestled Wrestle Kingdom, became the 3-time Ring of Honor world champion. And as soon as his match was done, he still came back to his phone and texted me and said, hey, match is all done. It went great. I hope you have a great day at school today. So I'm like, this is like one of the biggest moments of his life. And he still thinks to text me. Like, maybe he's not all that bad. So when he got back from Japan, we both drove 2 hours to meet in the center of Pennsylvania to go on a date. we went to TGI Fridays and we sat there for 5 hours talking. And after here we are living together in Orlando, Florida.
He is freaking smooth, buddy. He is smooth.
Oh, I know.
So listen, during all this time due to the coronavirus, have you been spending your time at home?
So I've been reading a lot. I'm reading JR's book right now. I reread Chris Jericho's "No is a 4-letter word" because I read that like sporadically in dental school. I actually remember very vividly a time where I was reading it in class when I shouldn't have been, and the professor took it and said, "You can have this back after class." Oh my God! So now I was like, now I'm gonna like read this uninterrupted, so I don't have to sneak and get in trouble. But and I've been watching a lot of wrestling, like weird old matches that like I watched the 2012 Royal Rumble the other day. And then I've just been hanging outside and hanging out with my boyfriend because this is the first time I've had downtime since my senior year of high school, which was in 2009. So for me, this is kind of like I'm relaxing and taking it in as I can because I don't get to relax too often. So I'm just really making sure that getting good workouts in and relaxing and getting great sleep because I never get enough sleep throughout the week.
This whole thing's been kind of a blessing in disguise, especially like with both of you in wrestling. Like you're both at home right now.
Yeah, and dental offices are closed right now. They're only open for emergencies, and that's only so that they're keeping patients out of the hospitals because the hospitals are overpopulated is enough right now. We want the sick patients to get taken care of. We don't want people going in for a toothache or like come to the dentist for that. Don't go to the hospital. But with that being said, I'm ready for life to go back to normal. I miss the AEW family. I miss our fans. It's kind of like, okay, the break was nice, but then I think we're all kind of getting stir crazy. And at the same time, it's a scary time right now too. We want the world to be okay. And we want the world to heal. So even though we want to get back to normal, I think we all know in our hearts we need to wait for when it's the right time.
So with you and Austin being both at home, are you guys working out together?
No, we never work out together. Like we'll go to the gym together, that's a him thing. I'm all about like buddy workouts, but he's like, no, I have to have my rap music on and talk to no one.
So even at home, you guys are like that?
Yeah, we work outside. We work out outside. We wait till it gets dark because it's way too hot in Florida, and we work out outside by the pool. And he does his thing, and I do my thing. But we're just like, hey, how's it going? Like waving to each other. And then once the workout's done, we're back to being a loving couple. But while we work out, we're like strangers.
Hey, here's an interesting question: when the dentist's office is open and you're working on patients, how many recognize you as Britt Baker, the wrestler?
Oh, a lot. That's picked up. And you know what? I could kick myself because I thought that it was going to be awesome to have my real name be my wrestling name because I was like, oh, but I'm an actual dentist. I'm an actual doctor. So I'm just going to make that my wrestling name so it carries on. Didn't think ahead that I would have any kind of success where people could easily like Google me and Google the office phone number. So there's I get a lot of fan mail sent to the dental office, and none of it gets opened or touched. It's like returned to sender right away because we just can't have that. It's unfortunate. Send fan mail to AEW. Don't send it to the dental office. But more and more, I'm actually getting patients because they're wrestling fans. And our fans are pretty respectful. Like they're coming, they actually want like dental treatment or dental advice or a cleaning. They're not just coming in saying like, hey, sign this or take this picture, which is great. And I hope it stays that way because the dental office is very overwhelming during the day as is. It would be a lot to handle just wrestling fans coming in and out all day.
Britt, it's been a great ride and, we're so proud of you. We really are. You've turned into a great heel, and I feel personally kind of responsible for that because I just love working with you, holding the mic for you.
Yeah. Oh my God, we're the duo. We're one of the best duos in AEW history.
By the way, I want to remind fans that you can go to Pro Wrestling Tees and find Britt's shirt. That is the hottest selling T-shirt for a female wrestler ever.
Right.
It's badass. Right. Lots of blood.
That's right.
So hardcore.
Britt, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Don't forget to subscribe to the AEW Unrestricted podcast. By the way, that's for free, right, Aubrey?
Free.
Oh, free.
Wherever you get your podcast. Tune in to AEW Dynamite Wednesdays at 8 o'clock, 7 Central, only on TNT. Yes, we still wrestle each and every week, even during these times.
Hell yeah.
And I'm Tony Schiavone.
I'm Aubrey Edwards.
Thanks for listening.
What about me?
Fine.
Okay, and you are?
Dr. Britt Baker DMD.
There you go.
Thanks for listening to Unrestricted.